Welcome, football fans, to the Optimus NFL Show. I am your host, Brad Bolt, and joining me is my co-host. It's the man, the myth, the legend, Dan O'Connell. Dan, how are we going on this exciting new adventure that we are going to be embarking on here with Optimus Fantasy?
I was about to say, it honestly doesn't get much more exciting than this for what we've been doing. Like, we've been waiting to come over to the new Optimus fantasy site for a little while now, and it's finally here, our first episode on there, and let's make it a good one.
Well, that's it. And the goal of this Optimus NFL Show is to be able to dive into the NFL from a non-fantasy perspective. Give you all the goings on of the league, the news, the breaking stories. We're going to have some in-depth conversations from player rankings to team outlooks to win predictions, maybe even some special guests here and there. But I want to start quickly, Dan, by asking what are you most looking forward to with this show and what we might be able to bring to the people?
I think it's just, like you said, we're trying to cover everything NFL related and taking a backseat to a lot of the fantasy stuff. So I think we'll set ourselves apart a little bit just from being like focused on NFL as much more than what we do on fantasy. So just being able to cover just the wide scope that we can now doing this show, especially like new contracts and that sort of thing. And then just watching teams in training camp and keeping track of who's going to be a breakout star this year that we think and all those sort of things.
Yeah, and that's sort of the goal too, is to maybe try and, as the season goes on, have a little bit of like a minute, go into the minute details as to why maybe plays or players or certain stretches of games were so successful for people. We want to be able to look in there and go, it's because of this, and be able to dive into some of that. So that's some of the stuff that's going to be really fun to be able to jump into. So what we're going to do, so without further ado, we're going to jump into today's episode, which is just going to be a fun little show. Nothing too major, and you can see on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube, we are creating the ultimate NFL offense. So this is like a Madden type fantasy draft, but just between Dan and myself. We're going to alternate. We're going to go in picks, alternating picks. It's going to be a bit of a snake formation, and we are going to be going into who is going to have the best offense that we can build from all the players in the NFL. So, Dan, if you just want to give everyone just a quick outline of what the position groups, like what we're sort of going to be running with here and how we're going to be drafting our teams.
Okay, so we're looking at obviously quarterback, just single quarterback here, NFL style. We're going to be having one running back between us, and then wide receivers, we're going to have three of those. Obviously, you have your outside wide receivers, and then the slot wide receiver as well is super important these day and age. So we'll have three wide receivers, then we'll have a tight end, and then obviously offensive line all the way through: left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle.
Perfect. And that's sort of what we are. This is going to be a lot of this discussion that you're going to see on this show throughout the season, is that we are going to be looking at a lot of the positions that some people may not take into account. We're going to be having rankings for offensive linemen, offensive line talk. We'll go through that through the season. So through a random generator, it's been decided that, Dan, you get the first pick of this draft. So I'll go picks 2 and 3 and then vice versa. So with the first pick, creating the ultimate NFL offense, Dan, who are you taking?
So there's no way setting up your team from scratch, you're not going to choose the best quarterback in the game. Like, you can talk about how do you set your team up? Do you go offensive line first to build up the trenches? But you put your quarterback in place no matter what when you've got the chance to go Patrick Mahomes now. So we just lock him straight in at pick one.
Pick one. I wasn't sure if you were going to surprise everyone and take Jordan Love number one there. That's what I was hoping. I had my fingers crossed, but
if you listen to a certain former NFL GM, Jordan Love won't be too far away from actually being number one in the league. He's number two apparently now. So
yeah, that's
I mean,
a
let's not
little
get carried
overboard.
away. But even as a Packers fan, I think that's getting a bit ahead of ourselves.
All right. So yes, no, you're right there. Mahomes easily by far and away number one pick. So I have picked two. I am going to go quarterback as well, and I am going to pick who I think is the second best quarterback in the league, and I'm going to go Josh Allen here. So it's Mahomes, Allen again. When we did our previous on the NFL lab shows that we were doing, we did our quarterback rankings, and on that we had both of us were in agreement. We had Josh Allen number two. I think that's pretty easy consensus for us. We get the two best quarterbacks are off the board here. You get Mahomes number one, Josh Allen number two. Any quibbles with Josh Allen at number as the quarterback there, or would you have taken someone
No,
else?
I think you look at how you want to build a team. You get that big time quarterback. He's got the big arm. He's got the size. He's got the scrambling ability as well. So he sort of pretty much checks every box that you're looking for. It's just the turnovers that he needs to get under control again. He can be a little bit inconsistent there year to year, but he's got all the tools that you're looking for. So I think you try and just build around him if you're going to
Yeah.
pick two.
And as opposed to what the current receiving options are like in Buffalo, on this team, Josh Allen will have some people to throw to who are bigger names than what he currently has there at this point in time. But so we've gone pretty chalk there, quarterbacks 1 and 2. So now I get pick 3. I am going to go maybe slightly, what's the word I should be, slightly surprising for you here. I am going to go offensive line.
I'm not sure it is surprising because I think we might be on the same page here.
Well, I think you might be surprised because I'm actually going to go Penei Sewell.
Okay.
So I've got my right tackle locked in. Penei Sewell
Yeah.
is an absolute superstar. He signed an extension with Detroit. I think the way that NFL offenses are having to work now is, and the way NFL defenses are playing, you can no longer have just a very average right tackle. You need to have your right tackle needs to be nearly as good as your left tackle, because you see with how quality the edge rushers are now, gone are the days when you can just line up your Myles Garrett against a very poor right tackle and just let him beat him all day. So your bookend tackles really do need to be on almost on the same level if you can. If you want to see these successful teams, I mean, we've seen some of the better teams in the past few seasons, like Detroit has had a really good, offensive line. Penei Sewell on one side. Philadelphia for a long time, they've had Lane Johnson on the right side, Jordan Mailata's on the left side. They're set there. Dallas for a long time, Tyron Smith, etc. So you see what I'm getting at there. So I am going with Penei Sewell there. I figure lock away possibly the best right tackle in the game and really protect Josh Allen there and give him a nice spot to be able to run the ball off that right side if he needs to. So you have picks 4 and 5. So who are you going number 4?
So I was hoping you were going to go left tackle there because I liked my options that I was going to be left with at left tackle. And then I was thinking I was going to get Penei Sewell as well.
So I thought that you would
So,
take Penei Sewell, so I had to get him first before you could jump on it.
yeah,
So
knowing that I had the next two picks after this, I actually thought you were going to go left tackle. And I was going to do the same thing as well with my pick here. So it was just a choice of who you took to determine who I took,
yeah,
kind of thing. And now that you've left it wide open for me, I kind of don't know because obviously we're building the best team that we can.
yeah,
So it's not looking like it's for right now. It's not looking for the future as much as that kind of thing.
yeah,
So for me, I think it's a case of I'm just going to lock in who I think universally is the best left tackle in the game, and that is Trent Williams from the 49ers.
yeah.
Obviously, he's 35 years old now.
Yeah, about that, but he's still right up there as maybe the
When
best
he's
offensive
on the
lineman
field
there.
and fit and healthy, he's easily best left tackle in the game. So even at 35, I'm going to lock him in here. And obviously, if this was going to be say we do however many rounds, like we're only doing the 11 for this show, but say further down the line, we decided to do however many rounds of a draft to build out a whole team. you'd want to look at having a solid backup at left tackle that you're going to develop for the future to take over.
Yeah.
But for this exercise, obviously, we're just about the here and now, and Trent Williams is number one in the game. So I'm going to lock him into my left tackle spot to protect Patrick Mahomes.
Good pick.
Quite
Good
happily
pick.
there. And just move on to the next one because there's not much more that needs to be said other than he's an absolute anchor on that line and he'll still be the best left tackle in the game for at least 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah.
And so because you took my guy that I was going to take now,
Yeah.
I'm going to pivot a little bit. We're going to move away from our offensive line like I would have done. And I'm just going to say, you know what? In this day and age, scoring is key in the NFL. So we're just going to run up a score. And I'm going to pair the best quarterback in the game with the best left tackle in the game. And I'm going to give myself the best wide receiver in the game. And I'm going to lock in Justin Jefferson as my wide receiver 1.
So that was my risk that I knew that I was going to take by taking Panay Sewell there. But yeah, the newly crowned $140 million man is just with $110 million guaranteed, signed a brand new extension.
Massive contract.
That's I mean, if you were to just if your draft ended right there, and you have Mahomes, Jefferson, and Trent Williams, that's a really solid team that you're like, do you know what? That would be a playoff team just with those 3 guys. And then
it almost doesn't matter who else I pick now.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have gone Jefferson too with my first wide receiver as well. So
yeah, and I think that's the thing with just doing it with the 2 of us. There's not many wrong choices you can make here. It's just about getting the best combination of players on the field as well.
Yeah, and this is where this is going to be fun for anyone who's listening, who's watching this. At the end, we'll try and put up somewhere a poll that we can see who everyone votes for, who they think has the best team. So that'll be fun to see as well. So I've got the next 2 picks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go another offensive lineman here, just because he is a guy who I think is
okay. Chris Collinsworth, settle down.
that's just thrown me there for a second.
All it was missing was a little slide in then.
Yeah, that's next time. I'll remember that. I'm just going to pick him because this guy to me has been the out and out best right guard in the game, and he is so far above everyone else. I don't want to run the risk of losing him, so I'm just going to take him here. Zach Martin from the Cowboys. I've got him as my right guard. My right hand side is completely locked and solid now. You've got Panay Sewell, Zach Martin. That would be top tier offensive line, nearly the best offensive line if I just stopped right there. Like just having those 2 guys on that right hand side gives my Josh Allen quarterback there that chance to, okay, at least I know my right hand side's locked down. And like I said, Zach Martin has been the best right guard in the game for a long period of time. So had to take him just because I feel that the drop from, say, Zach Martin to the next tier of guards is sort of that drop that you can see in other position groups from like, elite status to good sort of thing. Like to me, I have Zach Martin rated so highly. I don't want to lose him there to you.
Yep.
So
that's fair as well. And considering you went right tackle, like you said, it's that opportunity to just absolutely dominate on that right side of the line.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, there's not a weakness on that right hand side. If you're trotting out Panay Sewell and Zach Martin on your right hand side, you don't need a tight end on that side to help chip block at all on the upcoming pass rushes. I've got the 2 studs on my offensive line there. So I am then going to go for a skill player here. And this guy, I am going to put him down just because of the way that we are doing this. And once again, talking about guys who are elite and where they're going to, where I see them in the tier drop to the next level player. And I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey here.
Oh, God, running back early.
Yeah, it's just, But see, he's not a running back. Like, he is a running back, but he's not. He's an offensive skill weapon.
Yeah.
Like, if I can put Christian McCaffrey out there anywhere on the field. Like, you know how you see sometimes when the teams empty the backfield and then they have to bring on their fourth wide receiver or whatever to play out, or fifth wide receiver, however they're doing it. I can keep Christian McCaffrey out on the field the entire. We could go no huddle the entire drive, and I don't lose anything if I have to push Christian McCaffrey out wide to be like a little slot receiver or something. So once again, to me, the tier drop from Christian McCaffrey to the next running backs, to me, is a lot larger than, say, at wide receiver. So I thought, right, let's just lock up the best running back in the game and go Christian McCaffrey. Because also, too, how terrifying, if you're a defense facing this team, are you on those RPOs when you've got either Josh Allen running the ball one way or Christian McCaffrey the other way?
Yeah.
How do you stop that?
Yeah. And he's not slowing down anytime soon either.
No, and he's the myth of Christian McCaffrey being super unhealthy. Like, it wasn't really. Like, it was a season,
those two seasons that really brought that about, and occasionally there was like a game or two here and there. But those 2 seasons where he missed those big chunks is where that all came about from.
And even then, too, some of it, by that stage, the Panthers were so far out of it in some of those, the team just shut him down and went, you know what, we're not even going to bother bringing you back. Like, why bother? Because we don't want you to do something worse and then come out and play in a meaningless Week 16 game when there was nothing on the line and go and tear an ACL and lose him for the entirety of the following season. So
yeah, exactly.
So, yes, I have gone Christian McCaffrey there. So you're back on the clock for 2 more.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at offensive line, because I know I've got my best wide receiver in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm good there with whoever I can pick now, leaving it for a minute. So like you said about the drop-off from Zach Martin and that sort of player, I see where you're coming from as well, because I had literally 2 people put down that I was looking to pick. And it was Zach Martin, obviously top of the list at right guard. And there was also, so I've got 2 picks coming up. So I'm going to go with, actually first I'll go with my right tackle, just so look after him, pick him a bit higher, give him that little bit extra money.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a salary cap at the moment. So I'm going to go, again, you got probably the best right tackle in the game. If he's not that now, I think it'll be the best right tackle in the game within a year or 2. So there's a question that can be asked here if I'm getting the best right tackle or not. But he's certainly 1A or 1B. And I'm going to go Mr. Old Man again on the offensive line at the moment in Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
So I'm just racking up the age on my offensive line, knowing that eventually down the line I'll build up my depth chart and we'll have some solid backup behind them for when the time comes. But get that experience and the just sheer ability that they both have in Trent Williams and Lane Johnson. Good luck any of the edge rushers getting to my quarterback.
Well, the only thing, so to me it was Penei Sewell, but if I didn't go Penei Sewell in that and I had to choose right tackle, I would have gone Lane Johnson as well. My only cause for concern is that this isn't Madden and you can't turn injuries off.
Yes.
And that was my only hesitation why I sort of thought, like, to me, Penei Sewell, if he's not number 1, he's number 2. But, you know, him and Lane Johnson are, you know, that sort of, to me, they're right up there. I wouldn't pick anyone else other than those 2 at this point in time. But it was just the injury issue was the only reason why I thought, I might just hold off on Lane and go with the younger guy in Penei Sewell.
Yeah. And I think, like, for this exercise, like we said, we're just going base sort of offense with the 11 players. Whereas if we were going to build it out and do it for a lot longer, and we might even do this further down the line.
Oh, we're 100% doing this down the line. We'll build a 53-man roster or something.
Yeah, so we'll keep, obviously, the players we pick now, and then we'll look at fleshing out the roster as well. So when we do that, I can pretty much guarantee that it won't be all that long before I'm picking a left tackle and right tackle.
Yeah.
to back up, obviously, Trent Williams and Lane Johnson, just so I know I've got that continuity going. Once they retire, get injured or whatever, someone else can step in.
Yeah.
So, but for right now, I'm not worried about their injuries and age. I'm just going to get them plug and play and then deal with injuries later on when it happens and hope I build out my depth well enough.
Yeah.
So that
So
was
you've got
Lane
another pick
Johnson as
here.
their right tackle. So yeah, got my next pick. So obviously got quarterback, wide receiver, left tackle, right tackle. And in today's NFL, they're probably the four most important positions
Yeah.
where, like you said, right tackle is becoming just as important as your left tackle.
Yeah.
And wide receivers becoming obviously one of the most important positions in football. And we see how important it is with the contracts that are being handed out now. Obviously,
Mhm.
Justin Jefferson just got his. Jalen Waddle recently got his as well.
Yeah.
So teams are really targeting that upper echelon wide receivers and trying to lock them in long term. So in saying all that, I could go wide receiver again here. And I probably will because I know you've already picked your right guard. So I don't have to panic too much now about missing out on the top guys there.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've already missed the top guy. I could look at left guard, but I'm going to leave that for a minute. Like you said, I'm just going to outscore everyone, and I'm going to scare the hell out of opposing defenses. So I've got Justin Jefferson on one side. I'm going to go with somebody that cannot be stopped when you've got a double Justin Jefferson, and I'm going to put Tyreek Hill on the other side, and just say, you know what, just run like the wind, get open one on one, and I'm going to get the ball to you wherever and whenever I want.
Yeah. That's annoying because I was expecting you to pick someone else there, and he was going to be my pick. So, but that's all right. That is all
And
right.
this is what makes it fun when you and I both know each other so well when we talk about NFL.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little bit of strategy coming into play there of knowing I can hold off on my offensive line for a little bit. And I'll
Yeah.
probably miss out on one of the guys I want coming up, I'm sure. But how do you turn down Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, I'm hoping that a couple of my wide. I'm just letting you know now. I'm going back to back wide receivers here
Okay.
because you've already picked your left tackle. I can hold off on my left tackle, sort of thing. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going back to back wide receivers here. Firstly, on the outside, I'm going Jamar Chase.
Yep.
I'm putting Jamar Chase on that outside. That gives Josh Allen his big weapon, whatever. My next guy I'm going, because I'm going to, and we can talk through these two guys as we're going through together. My next guy might be a little bit of a surprise, but because we are going our base sort of thing, we're going outside receivers and slot guys. I'm getting, to me, I think the best slot receiver in the NFL. And I am taking Amon-Ra St. Brown here.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Jamar Chase on the outside, Amon-Ra on the inside in the slot. But these guys and the thing that I like about the guys that I've picked and the guys you've picked is you can't pencil them in to outside receiver, slot receiver. These guys go everywhere. They come out of the backfield. They're on the sweeps. Like, no one will ever forget to me that play that was, I think it was a Thursday night football game. Do you remember when the Dolphins were playing and there was a fumble and Tyreek Hill picked the ball up from the fumble and raced around as a jet sweep and beat everyone up the sideline for a fumble recovery touchdown? Like,
Yeah.
so you've got those guys. Justin Jefferson was a slot receiver in his last year of college. Like, it's these guys can go anywhere. So I have figured that I've got Jamar Chase as one receiver, Amon-Ra as my other receiver so far, with one receiver left to go to pick. These guys are so versatile, and there are other receivers that you could pick in this situation. I'm sure we might go and look at picking some of them up coming up soon. But to me, if I am going big play Jamar Chase on the outside, I also want the guy there for Josh Allen who becomes his security blanket, who he can throw the ball to 16 times a game. And Amon-Ra's that guy, and he can turn some of those short plays into big plays. So I've got my slot receiver, I've got my one outside guy, I've got my right side of the line sorted, my running back, my quarterback. I'm pretty happy with how this has worked out so far. But there, you have a really good team as well, and that's annoying. So,
Yeah,
so you've got back to back. Yeah, you've got back to back picks here again.
All right, so I've got one more wide receiver spot to fill. And it's going to come down to the fact that how we view these players. And like you said, there's guys that you've picked as well, that can play inside, outside. They're not just solely outside receivers, slot receivers. And the guy I'm lining up at wide receiver is 100% that sort of player. I'm just going to leave that for a moment. Just looking. I can leave my right guard. I'm not focused on that at the moment.
That's what we call a tease in the business, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to leave that.
It is. So what I'm going to do, right guard, I'm just going to leave. There's a question about how we handle the left side of the line now. We've obviously both got our left tackle. Neither of us
I don't have my
left
tackle yet.
Oh, you left yours because, okay, you don't need to worry about that because I've got mine.
Yeah.
Neither of us have a left guard yet, and neither of us have a centre. Now, there's probably two guys in each position who are at the top of the class, and then there's a little bit of a drop-off after those two. So knowing that I'm going to get one of the guys that I want in those positions no matter what, I'm going to go back and not tease anymore because I've got a feeling you might pick him as an outside receiver, whereas I can slot him in as a slot receiver for my team because, again, he plays inside, he plays outside. I'm going to lock in a CD Lamb as my slot receiver with the ability to swap and change with Tyreek Hill. And so I've got Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and CD Lamb.
See, he was not going to... I thought you were going to pick someone else, and CD was going to be my backup pick, but you didn't pick my guy, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, there was another couple guys there that no matter who you had have ended up picking, I think we would have been happy no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to lock in CD Lamb because I'm just going to put Jefferson on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to move Tyreek Hill and CD Lamb around nonstop. So opposing defenses have no idea what's coming at them. So that gives me all my wide receivers for this exercise locked in now.
Yep.
So I'm still no running back. We're not looking at tight end yet. You might be, I'm not sure yet. Who knows? You've gone running back early, so you might. I don't need to focus on right guard and you don't need to focus on left tackle. I'm going to get what I think is an undervalued position, but when it's the top of the class, it's so important to any team. And I'm going to lock in my favourite centre, and I'm going to do it with the quarterback I have, and I'm going to lock in Creed Humphrey.
Interesting.
Because the combination between centre and quarterback is obviously so important. They need to be on the same page. You don't want anything to be off with timing of the snap. And so I'm going to lock in Patrick Mahomes centre in Creed Humphrey and just not have to worry about any miscommunications or anything like that.
Yeah, I'd say interesting because I was sort of thought you might have gone somewhere different, but I understand your reasoning. Creed Humphrey's a really good centre.
And he may not even be the number one centre in the game. I think he's top two no matter what.
Yeah.
From my point of view. But, yeah, he might not be number one, but just because I've got Patrick Mahomes, I think he's close enough to being 1A, 1B kind of thing where I'm just going to have that comfort factor.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, that sort of... That does change my thinking slightly because Wide receiver, I don't need to worry about yet because your wide receivers are done.
Yeah.
I've got running back, you don't. You've got left tackle. I'm still safe with left tackle. It's left guard, center, but I don't really have to worry about center now. So really, my only two spots that I need to worry about are left guard and tight end. Now, I'm not going tight end here because I'm really conflicted on tight end. Who I should pick, who I think should be there, but who I actually want to pick three different people.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit stuck on that. So I might have to wait for tight end for you to pick tight end. So I'm gonna go left guard here, and I'm gonna go Quentin Nelson.
Oh, okay.
So Quentin Nelson, another guy who, super high draft pick, had, amazing start to his career, had a bit of, a lot of people saying a bit of a down season, but I thought played really well last year for Indianapolis. That offensive line for the Colts was a lot better last year.
Yeah.
And he's a guy, if I'm going who I think just going to be the most stout offensive line, who I want to have create holes for Christian McCaffrey and Josh Allen. I've got Zach Martin, Panay Sewell on one side, and then I've got Quentin Nelson and my left tackle. So I'm going to take a left tackle here just because I am so conflicted on my other guys, and I'm hoping you pick one of them that I can then, it makes the decision a little bit easier. So because of that, I am going to go another young superstar to me as a left tackle. This man started in his rookie season as a right tackle.
Oh, I like it.
They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then he's moved over to left tackle and become one of the best left tackles in the game. That's Tristan Wirfs for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I like
he
it.
was actually going to be my first choice for left tackle. So when you were saying you were going to go left tackle, I was worried you were going to pick him. And when you went Trent Williams, I had let out that little sigh of relief going, oh, thank God. Thank God.
I was close to doing it as well. I was close to picking Tristan Wirfs, yeah.
To me, Tristan Wirfs is in that elite tier of left tackles. He is, but like the thing that shouldn't work in the way that football is played is you have an all-pro right tackle. There is no way then that once you have an all-pro right tackle, you go, do you know what? Let's move him and let's try it out.
He's awesome there. Let's see where he is, how good he is elsewhere.
And then you move him to the left side, and he's almost an all-pro left tackle as well. Like, he is of that caliber. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. And the thing that I like about this is if you look at my two bookend tackles now, Tristan Wirfs and Panay Sewell, both of these guys could swap positions, and I don't think it would be a drop-off on either side. Like, Panay Sewell has that ability to play left tackle, but because he's been so outstanding as a right tackle, Detroit shouldn't move him. Tristan Wirfs is a fantastic, amazing, nearly all-pro left tackle, but we've seen him be an all-pro right tackle. So he's a guy who, if for some reason you have a really good backup left tackle, if, as you said, when we build these rosters out later in the off season or whenever, we're looking for something to talk about one day, and we do this, build out our rosters from here. If I leave right tackle for my depth position, and it's not a guy I'm super confident with, if Panay Sewell in our fake world happened to get injured, I wouldn't be too upset. Say if I had Jordan Mailata as my backup left tackle, could you imagine then me going, okay, let's just bring Jordan Mailata in to play left tackle, let's kick Tristan Wirfs back over to right tackle, and go, we are still just as good an offensive line as we were before. So
there's no drop off there.
Yeah, so now when I look at it, my offensive line so far, my 4 of my 5 positions are Tristan Wirfs, Quentin Nelson, Zach Martin, Panay Sewell. No defense is getting through those guys.
Yeah, no. Josh Allen's safe.
Josh Allen is very safe. Christian McCaffrey's going to be like, wow, I've never had such wide gaps to run through between the B gaps. I've never had that before. So,
yeah, no, I like it. I like the thinking, and like you said, we're going to build these rosters out, and I'm quite annoyed that you did choose him because I would have been looking to lock him in pretty early. Yeah, I was looking to lock him in pretty early as my backup left tackle, so take him off the board now.
So you're up with back-to-back picks here.
Well, because you took my backup left tackle,
He was
I'm
never
gonna
getting to
really-
you no matter what.
I'm going to really just do something to annoy you now, and I'm going to skip tight end.
That's
And I'm
fine.
just going to shore up my offensive line now. So I've got left guard and I've got right guard. So at right guard, I am going to lock in Chris Lindstrom from the Falcons, who I think is super underrated. Like you said, Zach Martin is far and away the best right guard in the game. There's no question about that. I think Chris Lindstrom is and has been probably the second best right guard for a number of years now.
Lindstrom's in that next tier for me.
What was that, sorry?
Lindstrom was in that next tier where I said that I
Yeah.
had Zach Martin up here. The very next tier, Chris Lindstrom was top of that next tier for me.
Yeah, like you can't go past Zach Martin, but yeah, Chris Lindstrom, you're not missing much there. It is a tier down, but still super comfortable, still super reliable as well there.
Yeah.
So happy with that. I'm going to go left guard, and there seems to be a bit of a theme here for me, and it hasn't been intentional. Like I said, Quinton Nelson was there. He was on my list. The next two guys I had was Joe Tooney and Joel Bitonio as left guards. Now, because I went and I guess took that comfort factor with Creed Humphrey at centre, I'm going to, like I said, it wasn't intentional, but it's turned out that way. I'm going to put Joe Tooney at my left guard. So we have that communication between left guard, centre. We have the quarterback back there from the Chiefs in Patrick Mahomes. So there's not going to be any miscommunications there. You're going to be able to have that comfort level if you're Patrick Mahomes, not worrying about who's on your left side, who's at centre, who's trying to come through and get you. So I'm comfortable putting Joe Tooney here. I would have picked Quinton Nelson if you didn't.
Yeah, and I would have picked, if you had have picked Quinton Nelson, I was picking Joe Tooney.
So, yeah, I think Joe Tooney and Joel Bitonio are very close to each other, but I will go with the Chiefs because when you're winning as many Super Bowls as them, why not just lock in as many of their players as possible on the starting side? And like I said, it wasn't intentional, but it's turned out that way, and I'm quite happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, perfect. Makes a lot of sense to me. So I am going to finish, since we're doing that too, I am actually going to finish my offensive line, and I'm after a center here. So I am actually going to go. See, this would have been one of these things. If he hadn't retired, Jason Kelce goes here.
Oh, yeah.
Like
100%.
Jason Kelce is here. So I'm going to go with my theme of youngish guys, but also athletic freaks. Because that's every one of my offensive linemen are athletic freaks.
Yeah.
So far, you look at it. So I'm going Tyler Linderbaum.
Oh, okay.
Because he's the guy who, with this running, in my eyes, this type of running scheme and the way that I'd want this offensive line, I want him to play that Jason Kelce type of role who can get out and pull and get out in front of the running back or the quarterback and get to that second level on the outside and push people, push people out the way sort of thing. So he's athletic enough that I could get him in that role. He's a guy who I want to add to this team that I am building, this fake team. And it's just offensive linemen are really good at their position and just athletic freaks. So he fits that bill for me. So he was my center. Who did you have as your second choice for center? Because I know you said you had two guys sitting there.
Well, I'm not telling you yet because I need a backup centre.
But we're not doing that now, but I'm going to forget between now and when we do it.
So I had Frank Ragnow.
See, he was my third choice. I was tossing up between those two, and I think at the end of the day, I sort of went, look, I know this isn't we're going for like right now, but I don't think that picking Linderbaum here is such an egregious pick that it's like, okay, he's young. We're hoping he can be good. Like he is good, and we've seen him work with a running quarterback in Lamar Jackson, and we can see what he's helped do for that offense in Baltimore. So add him to the list here, and he's it's a toss-up really at the end of the day between the two guys. So I don't think you could really go wrong with either Ragnow or Tyler
Yeah,
Linderbaum.
100%. Like you said, when it's just two of us picking, you're
Yeah,
going to get studs no matter what. It's just what way you want to go with it and what type of player you want.
yeah. Well, I am then going to go because I'm going to end up with the last pick in this draft. And I'm going to pick my third wide receiver here. So then that's going to force you to pick a tight end, and I get with the last pick of picking a tight end.
Well
So
played.
I am going to go just another big-bodied freak of an athlete at wide receiver, and I am taking AJ Brown.
Yep.
To me, with that compliment, like he compliments these guys so well that Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, AJ Brown. There are other guys that we had left off the board here. You could have had like your Devontae Adams, your Stephon Diggs. You could have had your Brandon Ayuk's and your Deebo Samuels. Those types of guys that you could sort of drop down to your next tier from there, where you could go your DJ Moores, Keenan Allen, all of these types of guys, your Garrett Wilsons, Nico Collins, Tank Dells. But to me, you've got three incredible wide receivers who are pretty interchangeable wherever you want to put them, in Jefferson, Hill, and CD. And I sort of feel like I can do a little bit of the same with Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So like I said, in this exercise where it's just the two of us, maybe one day we'll do it with a couple of the other guys from the Optimus Fantasy crew, and we can actually have 4 or 5 people doing it, and we'll see how different our rosters are from there. But in this exercise between you and I think we've got probably the 6 best wide receivers in the NFL here in this group.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like Devontae Adams.
Devontae's right there.
Yeah. I still
But
can't
it's
put any lower than 5, but I can see why people would.
to me, it was between AJ or Devontae Adams. And I know this, like we said, I know that this is a bit of a fake scenario here that we're running. But if I was actually looking at this from a team building perspective, based off of the other guys that I've got, I like that ability to have these guys interchangeable. And I know Devontae Adams can do that. But to me, at this stage of his career and where these other guys are, I think I'd rather take the bet on having 3 wide receivers in their early to mid 20s than Devontae Adams, who's, what's he, 31 now? 30?
Yeah, about 31, I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, so, and with yours, like I would have had Tyreek Hill, but you picked him, but Tyreek Hill's sort of a bit ageless at the moment because his explosiveness is such an elite level.
Yeah.
That he's not really, you can't, no matter what age he gets, you sort of can't really go, okay, even if he got to 36, 37 and he's still playing, his speed is still probably faster than like 80% of the other wide receivers in the NFL. So it's
his
like,
speed at the moment is like here. So when he starts
Yeah.
dropping down, he's going to drop to about here.
yeah, exactly.
Which most other players are still off the screen down here. So
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
So you've got 2 picks, and then I've got the lucky last pick of this draft.
Okay, so my 2 picks here to round out my team. I'm going to go running back here. Obviously, it doesn't matter what order I go in, but I'm going to go running back. And you've got the number 1 running back in the game. We'll go bit of a spoiler for our upcoming running back rankings show. I think it's no surprise that we'll both have CMC at number 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a bit of a surprise here because I'm going to leave somebody. Because of the way I've built my team, I've got a running back in mind that I want to put on the field with these guys. But to start with, I'm going to have quite possibly what could be the most dominant running back in the game behind this offensive line, and then with the speed and excitement at wide receiver. And just because in this make-believe world, I just want to picture what it would be like to see 6'3", 247-pound Derrick Henry with all this space because nobody's going to be able to load the box for him with my wide receivers and my quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put Derrick Henry in here and just go, come at him and have fun.
I had him third on my list. I had someone else in front of him, but it was on such, like, to me, it was literally CMC at this level, about three or four guys here at this level, and then drop down from there. So I can't fault you for taking Derrick Henry there. Like you said, with that beast of an offensive line as well, Derrick Henry's going to be putting up. Derrick Henry's going to be putting up those numbers every single week, like he did in those Jacksonville games when he used to go. You look at Derrick Henry, so it's like 18 carries, 237 yards, like that sort of thing. So,
and when I've got obviously Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and CeeDee Lamb, I'm not going to need a running back that's a pass catcher.
No,
it's not going to be high on the list of needs from running back. I'm just going to have one that's going to punch it in the red zone. He's going to wear down defenses as well.
Yeah.
And how fun would it be just to watch Derrick Henry with all that space that he'd be allowed to have?
Yeah, pretty much. So you've got your lucky last pick at tight end.
Yeah. Now, I've already got 1, 2, 3 Kansas City Chiefs players. So, obviously, the consensus would be, I think Travis Kelce is still the tight end one in the game. But I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to go young. I'm going to go exciting. I honestly think that Sam Laporta...
Damn it.
...has his...
Shit. Damn. I was hoping you...
I look to move away from Travis Kelce here, which is interesting.
Yeah, I was so set because you were going Mahomes. I was like, there's no way you're going to break up the Mahomes-Kelce stack type of thing. And I was like, yeah. Then I was like, I was tossing up between Laporta and someone else. And then I was like, am I going to be too ridiculous for taking Laporta over someone else? And now I'm kicking myself I didn't do it.
Oh, that's hilarious. And we haven't even talked about tight ends much between the two of us.
No.
So that's hilarious. So we both sat there looking at having him as our tight end. But I just think his rookie year was so good in that Lions offense. And I think he's only going to get better as well.
It doesn't feel like a flash in the pan, does it?
No. And I loved him during the draft process. I wanted him on the Green Bay Packers. I would have loved to have him at the Packers. So I just really like him as a tight end. And he's only just scraping the surface as well. He's got so much improvement in front of him. And to put up the year that he had, like, we talk about wide receivers coming in, tight ends coming into the NFL, and there's a learning curve that they have, and some of them can take a few years before they hit. It didn't take him long.
Yeah.
So, and they had a big volume wide receiver there as well in Amon-Ra. They had, obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs as a pass-catching running back. They had Marvin Jones there and a couple other guys taking targets as well. But Sam Laporta just demanded the ball.
Yeah.
And for a young tight end to come in and just demand the ball like that, the future is so bright for him.
Yeah.
And we did see it with Kyle Pitts in his rookie season. Like, he went over 1,000 yards. Sam Laporta didn't make 1,000 yards, but you can see that that's in his future. Like, it's not that much of a stretch to see him hit 1,000 yards this upcoming season.
Well, that's what it sort of feels like, doesn't it? It feels like he's going to be 1,000 yards this year. Because did he miss some games last year, or?
I think he missed a couple from memory. Didn't look, but off the top of my head, he missed a couple games, I think. So I'll have a quick look. But yeah, you talk about young tight ends, and my team's relatively old on the offensive line. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is up there in age, but like we said, he's not going to have a drop-off, really, you think, all that quickly. He's still going to have his speed and his route running, so we're comfortable there. But just trying to quickly find it, sorry. I am very comfortable having Sam Laporta as my tight end. And obviously, when we move down the line, we'll be looking at backup tight ends, and there's plenty of choices to make there.
Yeah.
and he can go any sort of way with this team as well. But actually,
I
Laporta
think
did play 17 games.
I think he got injured in one of them though. Like I think there was a
Yeah,
game or two where he left early or something like that. But I mean,
yeah.
looking at his stat line, like you look at his stat lines and third game of the season, 8 catches, 11 targets, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Then against Carolina a couple of weeks later, he had 3 catches, 4 targets, 2 touchdowns. Later in the season against New Orleans, 9 targets, 9 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Against Dallas, who had a really good defense, 7 catches, 12 targets, 84 yards. Like all season, he was just producing. And then even in their biggest game of the season, the NFC Championship game, 9 catches on 13 targets for 97 yards against the 49ers. Like that, they're not the stats of a rookie. It's just unfair how he was able to come into this setup straight away and just be good straight away. So
Yeah.
like I said, I was so bummed. I honestly thought that you were going Kelsey there just with that Mahomes stack. And I was like, yes, I am going to get Laporta because, yeah, oh well.
That's hilarious. That's good. Jeez, I'm good at this. Just annoying people with my picks.
Pain in the ass. So then, look, I'm gonna go Kelsey then for my last.
I mean, you have to at this point, surely.
Yeah, because look, the only other 2 people I think you could really have in some form of consideration here are George Kittle and Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Outside of Laporta, like it was those 4 to me were on that level, but at this point in time, like Travis Kelce just rocks up and seems to get 1,000 yards every season. And last year, he started off the year, he missed the first game of the season, and then just sort of felt like he was on the back foot for the season for a while. But even a down season for him was still really good. Like it was just,
it's
looking
almost
at
unfair.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard to also like to go, okay, well, Travis Kelce, yes, okay, so he did have a down year for him. He had his 3rd lowest receiving yard total in his career last year, 984 yards on 93 catches. So receiving yards, that was his 3rd lowest of his career. He had 5 touchdowns for 984. But the previous seasons before that, 1,300 yards, 1,100, 1,400, 1,200, 1,300, 1,000, 1,100. And then the only 2 seasons he had less receiving yards were 2014, he had 862, and 2015, he had 875. So This is a man pretty much every season you could guarantee, right, he's going to get at least almost 1,000 yards, if not more. So
yeah, slow start to his career, only just cracking 800 yards.
Yeah, and 5 touchdowns, and then backed it up the second year with the same, and then just went on this insane run where he was just getting catches and yardage everywhere. But like you said, number 1 tight end in the game. It's really hard to go past him in that situation, and to go with our team, like I'm really happy with that as my sort of team that I'd be running out week after week. So what we'll do, I'm going to run through my team, and then Dan, you can run through yours. So I've got, for anyone, if you're following along, I've got quarterback is Josh Allen. My running back is Christian McCaffrey. Wide receivers, I've got Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, with Travis Kelce as my tight end. Then offensive line, I've got Tristan Wirfs at left tackle, Quentin Nelson left guard, Tyler Linderbaum at center, Zach Martin at right guard, and Penei Sewell at right tackle. And what is you've got your team there, Dan, that you can run through?
Yeah. Offensive line was always going to be fun between us.
Yeah.
Because obviously you took Penei Sewell early.
Yeah.
I was quite disappointed in that. So it was just funny seeing the reactions that we had there. But, okay, so I've got quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. The joy of having the first pick is just locking in the best quarterback in the game at the moment. And honestly, it's not going to be too much of a stretch before he's the best quarterback just in history, the way he's traveling at the moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, easiest choice you'll ever make. Running back for me, just because the sheer devastation that he'll cause. Derrick Henry with this offense, just good luck to anyone. I went wide receiver early to make sure I got the best wide receiver in the game, and I got Justin Jefferson. That was always a plan of mine. Then I took Tyreek Hill just for that speed factor and the excitement there, because you're not going to be able to double him too often. You either leave Justin Jefferson one on one or you leave Tyreek Hill one on one. And then while everyone's trying to shut down Jefferson and Tyreek Hill, I've got CD Lamb there just to play some fun in the slot. So that's a pretty unbeatable wide receiver trio there. And then, much to your disgust, my tight end is Sam Laporta, which obviously is a surprise. And like you said, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, breaking up that combo was tough. But I already had two Chiefs on my offensive line. I had Patrick Mahomes. I had to mix it up a little bit. So I took the gamble and took Sam Laporta, and it feels good there. Left tackle, I went old, but I went the best. I took Trent Williams. Left guard, like I said, one of my Kansas City Chiefs in Joe Tooney. Center, again, one of my Chiefs, just to have that combination there in Creed Humphrey. And then we went right guard. I took Chris Lindstrom, who you took Zach Martin early, which again, he was my number one guy I would have picked. So I pivoted there to my number two guy. And right tackle, I went old yet again because, well, they may be old, but they're okay. Lane Johnson's probably 1A, 1B with Penei Sewell. I'm comfortable with both of them. So I went Lane Johnson there. So we're going to have to look at a bit of youth and players at left tackle and right tackle that can just jump straight in and start at a pinch, because I'm old. I get broken down a little bit and injured. I'm still talking about my left tackle and right tackle, not myself, to be honest.
I was going to say, you better clarify that there. I wasn't sure which one we're after.
About me as well, depending on the day. But yeah, so I'm happy with going with the older guys at left tackle and right tackle, knowing that when we build our teams out, I'll be going a little bit younger and having that backup depth there as well. So yeah, happy with my team.
Perfect. I'm going to throw this out there. We can do this as well. I'll let you have a pick. You get to pick for your squad your coaching staff. Who would be your head coach and his head coaching staff? I'll let you have first pick, and then I'll take one after.
The whole staff. Okay.
Whole staff. Yeah, offense, defense. It's all a package.
All right.
Deal.
So, I mean, with my players, my quarterback who just keeps winning Super Bowls, why not get the Super Bowl winning coach and staff? We're going with Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Because I just love watching him on the sideline. And he, like I said, he just keeps putting him in positions to win and got the best quarterback in the game. And they just have that confidence within each other to go out there and win every single game. So I'm going to go with my Kansas City Chiefs theme and go with Andy Reid and the staff there.
Yeah. And that's probably the best choice too. Like I was looking at some of these, and I know I've made it more difficult for myself by letting you pick first. But you look at the other coaching staffs around, and like you could pick Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, but we're not sure what the defense is going to look like because it's new. And you could go like a Matt LaFleur, but once again, defense. I don't know what that's going to be like.
Well, it's not going to be worse than what it was.
You could go really young and go like a D'Amico Ryans and see how he's going to pan out. Dan Campbell with your Ben Johnson as your offensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. But then, so it's all of this. So I think what I'm actually going to do is this is going to be a very interesting pick, because my other guy that I had in consideration here was Mike McDaniel with Miami.
Oh.
But it's not who I'm picking. He was the guy I was looking at because I love his offensive brain. But once again, defensive. I'm just sort of a bit unsure. So what I'm actually going to do here is a team whose defensive play caller, defensive coordinator has actually left this offseason. Their defensive coordinator has taken the head coaching job in Atlanta. I'm going to go with Sean McVay and the LA Rams coaching staff.
Yeah.
I just think if you've got Andy Reid as, you could say Andy Reid is the best. You can say that because I think this too, but Andy Reid's the best coach in the NFL at the moment, and he's got a fantastic defensive coordinator in Steve Spagnuolo. But if I'm then going to have to pick any other coach, it was either going to be Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay. And I think at the end of the day, I know this gets brought up and held against him a little bit, but the Super Bowl record with Kyle Shanahan just gives you that little bit of a pause. Like I
was about to say Sean McVay's got them over the hump, whereas Kyle Shanahan seems to keep coming up short.
Yeah, exactly, and that's all it ends up being. Like there are so many. I think there's a lot of really good coaches in the NFL at this point, and it's almost sort of sometimes feels like that we almost need a couple expansion teams to get some of these guys head coaching jobs. But to me, there is no way that Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick, well, Ben Johnson at least, but he should be a head coach in the NFL. Now, we know his reasonings why he's come and said that. Yeah. Bobby Slowick's on that chance to be a head coach. I still think Brian Flores should be in that discussion as a head coach because I didn't think he did terrible in Miami when he was head coach there. But, you start looking around at some of these other people and you think like maybe Aaron Glenn should be a head coach. I don't know. But, there's guys everywhere that have that potential to step into that role. So it'll be interesting couple of like weeks this year to see what happens and, where coaches end up and things like that. But yeah, so that's who. So,
and if you had have gone with the choice, giving yourself the pick of the coaches, and like you said, you would have gone the Chiefs with Andy Reid.
Yeah,
I would have ended up taking, I think, Detroit Lions coaching staff.
Yeah, it was a toss up between those couple.
Yeah, you've got Dan Campbell as sort of the guy that oversees everything, and we know what he is. He has his limitations, obviously, when scheming things up, but he's got the guys on the offensive and defensive side of the ball in Ben Johnson, who's an absolute genius, seemingly a genius on the offensive side of the ball, and whoever he decides to be the coach of when it's time for him to be a head coach is going to count themselves lucky. So I love Ben Johnson, hoping he finally gets out of the NFC North eventually in the next year or two, which would be nice as a Packer fan. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball, and you've got Aaron Glenn, who is just, we saw him on Hard Knocks. And how do you not want to play for that guy?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Dan Campbell as well. So the culture they've put there at Detroit is unbelievable. So as a coaching staff, that's who I'd want to play for.
Yeah, if I'd put it through as a rule that the head coach has to have had under, say, 4 years coaching experience, to me there's three choices in that. If you'd said that, like if we'd put a restriction and said, right, it has to be a coaching staff where the head coach has had X amount of years or less, it's Dan Campbell, it's D'Amico Ryans. Actually, there's four choices now that I think of it. It's Dan Campbell, D'Amico Ryans, Kevin O'Connell, and Mike McDaniel.
Yep.
To me, they would have been the four choices that you go through, just because we've got to wait and see some of these other guys who I want to see how they go, like Dave Canales, Mike McDaniels, it's Seattle. These guys who are taking on these roles, I want to see how they go before you start putting them in that conversation. But there's people that, if we're doing this again this time next year, they would be interesting to see. These might be guys who, after 1 year, we start throwing their name in that sort of conversation. So something to look forward to. Next thing to look forward to for everyone still listening is the next time that we are coming to you from this. Dan and I will be doing the same exact scenario, but we're going to be going with our defensive players. So we're going to have our ultimate NFL defense that you guys will be able to vote on in a poll. We'll put these up, and when this episode drops, we'll try and put up some graphics, some polls. We'll let you all vote and see who you think.
And that's going to be where there's going to be some picks that might come from left field a little bit.
Yes. The defense one is going to be very interesting because there are so many ways that you could attack that, and yeah, that's going to have, to me, that's going to have the most variance than this. Pretty much this we had through the whole thing. We had almost the exact same players. I wouldn't be surprised if when we do the defensive draft, half the guys you pick I didn't have on my list, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So that'll be something to look forward to. So before we wrap up today's episode, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find Dan on Twitter at beard_82, and you can find me at Bradbot1. You can also find Optimus Fantasy on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, Kick, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen. You can find them at Optimus Fantasy. There'll be a load more content coming out these next few weeks now that has launched, and we had a great success with the launch party. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in today. We wouldn't be able to do what we love unless you guys were here listening to us, providing comments, feedback. We love this, so please keep doing that. We can't wait to see you again on the next episode. So on behalf of Dan, myself, the entire Optimus team, thanks for tuning in to the Optimus NFL Show, your ultimate football destination, transforming the way you watch the game.